When we hear ADHD, our minds usually jump to a list of challenges, right? But what if? What if it's also a kind of hidden superpower? Well, today, we're going to dig into the really surprising connection between ADHD and this amazing creative advantage.
Okay, so to really get this, let's first talk about the story of ADHD that we're all pretty familiar with.
You know, this is the standard textbook definition. It's all about distractibility, impulsivity, hyperactivity, and yeah, it focuses on the tough stuff, the very real struggles it can cause in school or at your job or even just in day-to-day life when it comes to focus and getting things done. But is that it? Is that the whole story? I mean, what if focusing only on the downsides means we're missing something huge? What if those exact same traits, the ones that create the challenges, also happen to be the source of a totally unique kind of brilliance? And that's where things get really interesting. This brings us to a whole other side of the story, a counter-narrative that suggests, hey, maybe ADHD also comes with this really distinct, really powerful creative edge. And it's not just a hunch. There's a growing mountain of research that's starting to uncover this super strong link, a link between ADHD and the ability to think way outside the box, to come up with brand new ideas, and to tackle problems from angles nobody else sees. So how does this actually work? Well, researchers have kind of broken it down into three pillars. First, you've got divergent thinking. That's just a fancy way of saying you can generate a ton of different ideas. Then that leads to conceptual expansion, where the lines around a category, like what is a fruit, start to get all blurry. And the real secret sauce, the thing that makes it all possible, is the third piece, being able to break free from what you already know. Okay, to really appreciate this advantage, we have to talk about something that holds most of us back creatively. It's this mental trap that pretty much everyone's brain falls into.
There's a name for it, fixation. It's this weird quirk of the brain where if I show you an example of something, it actually makes it harder for you to come up with a new idea. It's like your brain gets glued to that first example and can't see past it.
I mean, think about it. If I ask you right now to invent a fruit from an alien planet, what would you do? Most of us, our brains would immediately go to an apple or a banana, and we just, make it blue, or maybe give it stripes. That is fixation right there. So here's the big question. What if some brains are just wired differently? What if they're naturally better at shattering that mental trap? What if they're just not as likely to get stuck on the first most obvious idea?
Well, a really cool study decided to test exactly that. Researchers brought in a bunch of college students, some with ADHD, some without, and they gave them these two creative tasks specifically designed to see who could break free from fixation.
Okay, so task number 1, name some new products. They gave them examples, right? So for a painkiller, all the examples ended in all, like Tylenol. The students without ADHD, they mostly stuck to that pattern. But the students with ADHD, nope, they were way less bothered by the example, and their names were much, much more original. And for the second task, they went right back to that alien fruit idea. They literally asked them, draw and describe a fruit from a planet that's completely different from Earth.
And wow, this is where you really see the difference. I mean, check this out. Sure, both groups drew fruits with seeds and stuff, but the ADHD group's creations had these incredibly weird, amazing features. We're talking antennas, tongues, straws, even hammers. They weren't just making a blue apple. They were fundamentally changing what a fruit could even be. The person who ran the study, Holly White, put it perfectly. She said the ADHD group's fruits were just way more original. They show what's called conceptual expansion. It means they could just smash the boundaries of the category of fruit and pull in ideas from animals or even tools. Just incredible.
Okay, so this is about more than just drawing weird fruit, right? What does this mean in the real world? Well, it turns out this exact kind of thinking, this flexibility, it's the engine behind some of our biggest breakthroughs.
Think about it. The ability to just see things differently, to not get trapped by, well, this is how we've always done it. That is innovation. Sometimes just one tiny shift in perspective can spark a revolution.
A perfect example is the sewing needle. For 50,000 years, 50,000, the design was exactly the same. The eye was at the blunt end. Done. It was so obvious, nobody even thought to question it. Until one day, in the 1800s, some guy just completely broke that fixation. He moved the eye to the point. And that one single change, that's what made the entire sewing machine possible.
And this is where we can really start to reframe how we think about ADHD, because those things we label as problems, distractibility, a chaotic mind, in the right situation, those become superpowers. They become the ability to smash through fixation and think in ways that are truly groundbreaking.
So the same mind that might have a really tough time staying on one track in the classroom, that could be the exact same mind that's brilliant at scanning the horizon, pulling together these wild, distant ideas that nobody else sees. They're pioneering new ground because their brain isn't stuck on one single boring path. So what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that when we start to embrace these different ways of thinking, we're not just managing a disorder. No, we are unlocking this incredible, untapped potential for creativity and innovation. And it really leaves you with a huge question, doesn't it? How many breakthroughs are sitting right there, waiting inside a mind that just happens to think a little differently?